Salem Leadership Academies, Teacher Rubric, Domain 3, Classroom Management and Environment. This professional learning experience encourages you to learn, grow, inspire, and transform. Domain 3, Classroom Management and Environment. What? These components include classroom organization, arrangement, extensions of thinking, a data driven classroom system for tracking progress, evidence of targeted instruction, classroom procedures and routines, relevance of the learning objective, and student participation. Behavior versus classroom management. There is a big difference. Behavior management focuses on individual scholars and instills positive behavior choices in the scholar so they can make great decisions for a lifetime. Classroom management focuses on the whole group and creates a learning environment that is positive where all scholars can thrive. The what and why. Classroom management strategies for teachers. Typically, this encompasses 5 areas: establishing clear expectations, building positive relationships, establishing classroom routines, use of positive reinforcement, and 5, engaging scholars actively in learning. The classroom space configuration largely impacts the culture in the room. And so, with that, we're going to unpack today Domain 3, what it looks, feels, and sounds like. How? The educator provides an organized classroom with easy access to materials, thus creating an easy flow of instruction. Scholar workstations, spaces, and desk configurations promote peer to peer collaboration, support, and peer led academic celebrations. The teacher tracks data to drive instruction and actively involves scholar in data use, thus instilling ownership of class and individual data growth. Teacher regularly changes learning environments to accommodate the learning objectives and access physical resources and interactions. The teacher will empower scholars through shared ownership of routines and procedures in order to maintain fidelity. There is a strong sense of urgency to complete learning tasks and excitement for learning because the teacher connects the objectives to the scholars' personal lives, culture, and linguistic backgrounds. As a result, active participation occurs from all scholars. That would be our ELL scholars, our special education scholars, our gifted scholars, our scholars who may have gaps in their learning, and so on and so forth. Respect for all answers are demonstrated and diverse needs, will sets, and skill sets are accommodated. Now, let's unpack what this might look, feel, and sound like for classroom management and environment. Indicator 3.1, classroom organization. These are some guiding questions. Does the teacher provide a safe, organized environment accessible to lesson materials? Do scholars navigate the learning environment safely and seamlessly? Here we have an example of a floor plan for a classroom. Now, your classroom may look very different from this, but this is just one example. Have you written the vision and made it plain? Are you strategic in where you have your bookshelves, where you have the math center materials, where you have your rug, where you guys will have that center time? Are your centers labeled? Where are they located strategically in the classroom uh, regarding to where the materials are? Is there alignment? Do we have electrical cords and wires that can become trip hazards? The centers where the technology is there adequate plugs to be able to keep the equipment charged? The teacher's desk. Does the teacher's desk uh, allow the teacher to see the scholars and to really have a clear view? Do scholars from their desk are they able to see the smart board or the whiteboard where the teacher typically may stand in a specific area to facilitate instruction? So all of these things matter, and being strategic and making sure that the teacher and the educator, we allow ourselves to sit in every single desk to ask ourselves, does that scholar have access to the learning, the materials, and access to the teacher's eyesight and being in viewpoint when instruction is happening. This is an example as well. This is another classroom design. Again, your classroom may look very different. This is an elementary classroom design. But look at this one. That as a teacher, if the teacher chooses to stand here and to instruct scholars most of the time, who is going to be most challenged to see the teacher? This table definitely has a front row view. This table group here, they'll probably do well. Probably this one as well, and maybe this one. But this table group here would have to look past this group and this group just to have an eye view of this educator. These are some of the strategic things that we want to ask ourselves. And perhaps the teacher is over here at the whiteboard, and maybe there's a visual here on the smart board of what's happening here. But it's really important if the teacher chooses to stand at the whiteboard to perhaps allow these scholars to sit somewhere around here or to move their chairs so that when direct instruction is happening from this angle, scholars can see. Versus, or an easier decision might be for the teacher to just teach closer to the smart board where everyone will have a quick, easy, and access and viewpoint. Where and how will scholars access materials? Is there a school supply station in the classroom that will have most of the materials that scholars will regularly need? Pencils, highlighters, scissors. We want to be those educators that you want to ensure that scholars are set up for success. We want to leave them without excuse. So if a scholar comes to school without a pencil or some type of resource, it's not a punishable offense. We give them what they need so that they can learn for the day. That is the goal. That is the objective. And so we prepare and plan for those kind of things. We do empower them to be responsible, but we also want to make sure that that doesn't come at the expense of them learning. Another way to ensure that the environment is set up for success and that scholars have access to the learning is how do we make desk configurations happen in short amounts of time? And or what if you don't have your own classroom because you float into another teacher's classroom? Well, Desk Olympics is just one way. And this video really shows how we move from pairs, working in groups. Maybe we had a quiz that only took about 10 minutes of our block, our content block. And so now how do we reconfigure the classroom? And so all scholars need to participate and to be aware that they are also responsible for the logistics of the classroom and how it's arranged. Some teachers do this by labeling their desk and numbering the desk, or every 4 desks that are supposed to be in a group may have a red sticker on it. And so this is the red group, and then it's 1, 2, 3, 4 in the red group, 1, 2, 3, 4 in the blue group, 1, 2, 3, 4 in the green group. And so that they will always know, hey, red 1 and 2, you guys are pair partners, right? Red 3 and 4, you guys are pair partners as well. And it's easier to call, to help scholars know who they're supposed to be working with when. But let's see what this may look like when a teacher says formation 1 or 2 or 3.
Wait, do you remember position 2? 2. Position 3. Go. Position 3. You don't know what position. 2. Nice. That was the fastest. Okay. Position 1. Position 2. plus position 3. Ready?
Okay, and so I'm going to pause right here because again, we see position 1, position 2, position 3. Either way, it goes between working a solo and maybe the desk are in rows because we're about to take a quiz or to do a writing assignment that requires individual work versus an activity that requires pair work versus an activity that requires group work, right? And so scholars need to be able to help with the logistics of reconfiguring the classroom for the different work expectations and collaboration needs. But you notice that the room size and space is it's a little tight. And sometimes the older our scholars get, we definitely have to keep rearranging the room so that it really accommodates what instruction is going to require and or the collaboration expectations that are needed. And so Desk Olympics, it's easy to just kind of Google and see some examples, but really, Desk Olympics is when you practice moving into groups efficiently and effectively by reminding scholars to watch those fingers. Some teachers choose to place the tennis balls under the desk so that way it's a minimal noise as well. Um, you'll ask the scholars to move into groups, either with sitting or standing. It depends on, your floor. Some of the classroom that we saw there had a carpet, so we could kind of hear some of the sounds there. And you time the groups as well. And so you get them used to it. We absolutely encourage teachers to have that visual on their smart board so the scholars can see what the configuration of the classroom should look like versus side by side pairs, face to face pairs, groups of 3 or groups of 4, just like we saw there. All right, indicator 3.2, classroom arrangement. Does the physical arrangement create an inviting work environment and support scholar collaboration? Again, Desk Olympics is a strategy to help us get to this place of us to be able to, quickly move into physical arrangements that will support collaboration and academic focus. And so with that, we're going to see some examples. All right, some examples of classroom configuration include groups of 4, groups of maybe 5, and sometimes groups of 6. And so we've seen different configurations in different classrooms. Here we have combination seating where we have some groups here, but then we have some horseshoes in the back, which is great because the teacher can instruct here, right? And then easily walk here to access, right? And then walk here to access as well. So great configuration as well. The goal is how quickly can you get to all of these groups? Then we have mini U's, which is great because the teacher can quickly do a small group here, quickly do a small group by standing here, quickly do a small group here. So this sets up for the teacher to be the traveling, facilitator of small groups to respond to questions, et cetera, but also scholars can easily work with their shoulder-to-shoulder partner, slide these desks in to work with their face-to-face partner. And so it really provides a great opportunity for that. All right, we have the U-shaped here where this is great. The teacher's standing here teaching. Everyone can see the teacher, but the teacher can do that radar, runway walk, scan, and making sure, teacher radar and proximity is able to access every student quickly. Okay, very important and powerful. Then we have stadium seating, where these scholars still have a shoulder-to-shoulder partner, right? Which is great. They have something they can work with. And they can even have that face-to-face partner. They can turn around and work with these individuals. But the teacher can also walk down this middle aisle here to access any of the rows to do that runway walk, right? So this is very important for teachers to be able to access every scholar quickly. Then here we have rows, right? And so notice these rows aren't the traditional rows where one desk is separate from all of them. No, if you're going to do rows, definitely have that still the collaborative option where these scholars still have a shoulder-to-shoulder partner. They can easily circle up and push their chairs back and create a circle with their chairs and still have discussions if you want them to have, or they can stand up and quickly huddle up in their groups of 4 to have discussions, right? And so this is powerful, but the teacher can also quickly access every row by doing the different walk around. Okay, very important. So these are just some examples of desk configurations. These should be the questions you ask yourself. Can I access every scholar quickly? Can I get to every scholar, right? Are there any trip hazards? How is this going to be conducive to all scholars accessing the learning? And this is what it looks like in real time. These are some of our secondary desks or some of our elementary desks that may look like this, depending on the furniture you have in your school. And these configurations really support whole group instruction, small group instruction as well, independent structures, and really group work. Because again, if scholars are able to quickly move throughout the room and move the desk, they can easily put the desk back. Again, these are groups of 5. We can see that the table groups of 4 will work, even table groups of 6. But sometimes 6 takes a lot longer to make sure everyone's voice is heard. So definitely table groups of 4 really can be beneficial to maximizing your time. Notice in these table groups, the benefit of it is there's a material kit right here at the center. Teachers can place papers here. Instead of, we don't spend time passing out papers, the educator passing out papers to every single scholar. You have 20 to 25 or more scholars in your classroom. No, you have a materials monitor. They can either go somewhere and pick up the paper copies, or the teacher can pass it out to just 6 table groups, because guess what? You can put the copies right at the center of that table group. Then we have here, now these are rows, the traditional rows. We want to see this really little, and we only want to experience this in our classrooms, perhaps only for quizzes, tests, exams, an entry ticket, an exit ticket, or writing assignment. Typically, this is okay, we're having a test. We're having a test, we're having some type of assessment, and so now the desks are like this for convenience purposes. But scholars should be able to, or if you keep it like this, maybe again you don't have a lot of space in your room, but scholars should easily be able to push their desks together and to create those pairs and to create those groups. Lastly, we have our small group instruction arrangement options, and typically that's a table where scholars can come. There's a whiteboard or a flip chart there where the teacher can write, even maybe some digital devices, and some of the content of material should be quickly accessible. Here's another example where a teacher has a U-shaped table that supports the learning as well. And these really support that small group breakout VIP session that you have in order to make sure any gaps in learning are taken care of, and or to push scholars who have mastered the standard, to push them to think and go deeper. Other arrangement options include morning meeting and putting the desk in a circle where scholars can talk and everyone can have equal access, and to feel that equity inside this circle, to have discussion time. Or maybe this is a community peace circle where we're going to talk about some social emotional things, or maybe something happened in the community or something happened at school, or that involves someone that we all know and care about, and we just really need to talk about it because everyone's talking about it anyways. And so, or maybe this is a Socratic seminar, maybe this is the fishbowl, but either way, this definitely communicates discussion time. All right, component 3.3, extensions of thinking. Does the teacher create and plan for scholar collaboration and celebrate respectful interaction? This has to be done with intention. Do scholars engage in collaboration, encourage and celebrate their peers? And so it's not just the teacher's responsibility. The goal is that it is a shared responsibility between the teacher and scholars as well. If scholars are only waiting for their teacher, which typically is a 1 to all the scholar ratio, to definitely provide respectful and celebrations and feedback, then that could take a while. So it's everyone's job to celebrate everyone in the room. It's everyone's job to be an encourager, and it's everyone's responsibility to know that you will work with every single person in this classroom over the next 10 months. So these are really important things to make sure to building a classroom that is well managed and fosters collaboration. And so one way that we can do this is through collaborating by standing up. especially our older scholars. Really, a lot of times when they go throughout a 6 hour academic day, well, they had to sit the entire time in first period, sit the entire time in second period, sit the entire time in third period, and they find that they're sitting a lot throughout the day. Well, they can stand and we can do walking galleries. And sometimes you see the picture on here on the left. We have looks like a different stations, and these two scholars are up here and they're talking about war, and maybe they're doing a presentation at the board, but either way they're standing up. Here you have a situation where a teacher has a huddle around the smart board and you have different scholars explaining their processes and protocols. And so this provides a great way of even showing how we can do a small group or do a quick reteach at the smart board up front. So standing up and learning, it's not a bad thing, right? It can definitely keep the brain engaged. It can keep us. Usually we don't fall asleep standing up, so it definitely can be a quick collaboration and engagement technique as well. Then we have collaboration outside the classroom. Certain times of the year in different regions, man, it's beautiful outside, and scholars need some fresh air. And really thinking about ways to use your outdoor classroom, or if there's a patio, you can take lap boards out there. Sometimes we can even take devices out there, but think about what that might look like. Maybe we're going to go outside and we're going to read, and then we're going to present to each other. We're going to do a jigsaw. We can do so many different things outside of the classroom, in our environment, while also allowing scholars to collaborate. And other collaboration opportunities we have to really foster respect and academic, celebrations and encouragements is through our morning meeting. Morning meetings are all about that. It really encourages scholars to be on time, to talk about what matters most to them, to identify their feelings, to say what's on their mind, and to really know what to expect throughout their day. It really ends with sharing what our morning message is going to be. What can we expect to learn in math today? And what's exciting about that lesson or topic? What will we expect to learn in language art? What's exciting about that topic? And how does this relate to my life today, every day, um, all day? And then morning meeting also provides a great format for we there's a greeting, we share, so that's that collaboration piece. We have a group activity which builds, that harmony and sense of safety, and where I really can trust my collaborates to have my peers to collaborate with me, but also to really cheer me on, encourage me to be my best self in class today, and really decreasing the anxiety because I know what to expect today. I know some of the surprises that are ahead. I know at least, what to expect. So I don't have to be afraid of failure, and because I have my team and we're all a team. And so these are just some reasons you see on the screen why every class needs morning meeting. As a network, we really highly encourage this because it's all encompassing of our teacher rubric domains 1, 2, and 3. It really does set our scholars up for social emotional success, academic success. It sets them up to build a community and to really establish a strong culture and climate that says, wow, we're going to learn at a high, at a high with high expectations. And yes, we're going to accomplish a lot of great things together. And so, morning meeting represents building strong relationships, allowing time for social emotional skills, emotional check-ins for you to know what zone is that scholar in. Are they in the red zone mood wise, the yellow, green, or blue zone? It helps to build community. Behavioral challenges can be reduced if you know if a scholar's in the red zone, and yeah, that's where they're starting their day at. You know how to address that scholar in a very delicate manner, and to also challenge that scholar to use their strategies to move themselves from that zone into a more pleasant zone that will set them up for productivity and academic success. Scholars, they share what's on their mind. Academic skills can be taught in this process. It can help them develop confidence, to have their voice, to make sure that they're able to have outlets to support their mental health. It increases scholar engagement, and it also helps our scholars problem solve and really deal with some of the life issues. Component 3.4, data driven classroom. Does the teacher track overall class and individual data in order to drive instruction? Do scholars track their own data and connect results to the learning goals? Again, this is a shared process. So, classroom management is not just about the teacher really having to lead everything out, it is a dual responsibility. It is our responsibility to empower. We use that word to empower scholars to track their own data. It's a beautiful thing because scholars now, it's like a video game. I want to beat the video game. I want to accomplish all of my goals by the end of the week or every 2 weeks as the scholars are tracking their growth and their progress. They get to celebrate themselves. And we want to build that capacity. So, one thing that we have in our network is a lot of ed tech. We have a lot of digital platforms that are utilized to document the impact that ELA, math, and our other content area instruction is having on the learning experience for our scholars. So, there's a lot of different platforms to learn. We even have platforms where we track professional learning and different things like that. So, it's important for us to really embrace edtech and meaning educational technology and to know that you can do it. You can do it. One thing you have to do is explore it, to be disciplined and continuing to learn it and to get comfortable with it because it provides fast feedback and tracking opportunities for us. Even tracking the behavior of our class management behavior versus our behavior management of individual scholars, all of those things we have platforms that track our data. So we want to make sure that we're asking ourselves, what is our data telling us about the positive impact of instruction and or areas where their instruction is not providing what our scholars need to be successful. So there are multiple options by our network. We want to learn them all. We want to support our fellow colleagues in learning the different digital platforms so that we can track data in a very seamless way. So going back to being a little old school, data walls are very helpful. And then some teachers are still using these because it really helps to motivate our scholars to know where they are. So if this is the current standard that we're using, and this is the secondary classroom where they have a second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh period classes, this educator can quickly just slide a piece of paper at the top of the week or biweekly or whatever in there and can use a Sharpie to just really write on the sheet protectors to see which class, where the class periods are with mastering that standard. Okay. This teacher chooses to put assessment averages, the highest score, the most growth. So we love that, right? This educator is focusing on the highest scores, the most growth. So we're celebrating, wow, every scholar really can be represented in these areas, not just our high achievers, but who had the most growth. That's awesome. Okay. So very inclusive. Love this data wall. We have another one that's a data tracker. We have reading tests, math tests, all of these different things that can be printed out and posted so scholars can see. So it's a matter of just going to those digital platforms, printing them out, and then posting them. Of course, anytime we have data that's visible on the walls in the classroom, we want to use confidentiality. You notice that we don't see scholar names here on these boards. And so if you do that in the classroom, notice it's usually by class or by class period, but it is very, this is tracking the data of the classroom, okay? But scholars can personally know and have their own individual data tracking sheet where they're able to document their personal growth. Where are they when they see this? How are they growing? Okay, and what is their highest score? And from week to week, can they beat their highest score? So this teacher just chooses to use electrical tape and has a grid on the board, and all of these grade levels can. So this might be a school-wide data tracker. And so this might be something we keep in the cafeteria or somewhere that's a common space where all grade levels can see and they can celebrate that. So fifth grade is in the blue, right? We know that kindergarten is pink. And so it's color coded by the grade level, and each grade level can see when they're making growth and they're making gains. So that's huge. And so now we have component 3.5, evidence of targeted instruction. These are some wonderful guiding questions. Does the physical space support / enhance current learning? Is the physical space enhancing it or impeding it? impeding learning? Do scholars follow routines with minimal prompting? Oh man, this is something that the first few weeks of school, we absolutely want to let scholars know. We have to use timers, 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 timers. We want scholars to know that time is expensive and every minute matters. Every minute costs us. So, routines, them being able to see it, to be reminded of what the procedures are, really having them to know that competition is with time, and we want to make sure that we're spending our time wisely because it's expensive. And so when they're working on a project that requires materials, how long is it taking us to get the materials? How long is it taking us to clean up? How long is it taking us to really figure out what we're supposed to do? Is the educator just talking, or can are they speaking and pointing at the board, which gives me the exact, specific, clear, and concise steps as to what I'm supposed to do? And so, one way that we really encourage a healthy classroom management that really infuses why it's important to do this, because it saves us academic time. It really promotes high achieving learning, the high achieving learning environment, is we want stations. We want scholars to have that small group, that VIP time. And while the teacher is supporting that VIP time, guess what? Other scholars need work to do while they don't have that teacher's attention. So learning stations are huge, right? Or independent structures, which we call them as well. They're huge. So let's see how this school really utilizes their learning stations, i.e., independent structures, to support differentiated learning, to support that VIP experience so that all needs are met, et cetera, et cetera.
The indicators, what are they? The learning stations. So it's an activity that I came up with. I wanted to present a lot of content over a few days because we're getting close to the end of the course articulation for AP Human Geography. And I didn't want to give direct instruction because I realized that, with different learning modalities, I need to hit all of them. And even though I learn really well with direct instruction, not every student does. So what I did was I created these stations with videos and articles, and there's jigsawing, there's also different learning strategies in there where they have to talk to each other and then move after about 15-20 minutes.
I like that you could do a lot in a little bit of time. Like, you can learn a lot of different things in one class period. So that's what I like about the learning stations.
I like group work because we're able to learn how we want, really, instead of, just sitting there taking notes or whatever.
I usually do these kind of learning stations at the end of a unit as a good way to review and also present higher level thinking questions that they can discuss, because this kind of content is not recall. You have to make connections, and freshmen have a hard time getting from that low level of thinking to a higher level of critical analysis.
I like group work because it not only helps you understand the concept a lot better with people that are learning the same topic as you, but as well as that if you don't understand a concept, you always have somebody to fall back on who does understand the concept, and one person cannot know everything. So it's good to equally distribute the amount of knowledge to everybody else.
Well, actually, when I really started doing the second semester, test results went up from, I had students who were getting Fs all first semester. This is a whole new ball game for them. Like I said, it's not recall. So they haven't learned how important it is to have discussions about the content and to make connections. And once they started doing this, and I asked them, I was like, do you guys do this when you study? And they're like, absolutely not. We just skim the notes. The F students on the test, not saying F students, but the students who were getting Fs, they were getting Cs. And then last test, they were getting Bs and As. So I said, I gotta keep doing this.
Wonderful. Here you have a teacher who, again, and especially secondary teachers, tend to get a very bad reputation for really the whole group. Listen to me, I'm the guru and I hold all of the knowledge. And no, this teacher says, you know what? I am going to, this teacher was getting different results. The data shows that it's really scholar-led, scholar-centered learning. And what they needed was to hear from their peers, to talk about it, not to sit and just have a sit and get from the teacher for a 15-minute block or classroom block. And so, wow, from the voice of scholars, especially older scholars, they're really advocating for how they learn, what they need, and this teacher's seeing the evidence of that. And so it's really important to do that and to really make those adjustments and not to just do what we've been doing and expecting to get a different result. Component 3.6, classroom procedures and routines. Does the teacher foster shared responsibility and ownership for routines? Now, our previous component, not only did we see that, it benefited scholars, it grew their academics. We saw in that classroom a timer. The teacher had a timer. The teacher had the scholars in groups. They had the materials. The teacher had to do a lot of planning to do those stations and really to release it to scholars. But we could tell scholars knew what they were doing. And I'm sure the first time this teacher did it, it probably did not look good, probably didn't feel good. The teacher probably felt like, I gave away a lot of my power. But you know what? In giving away your power and your voice, you actually enhance and empower the scholars to have more voice and to have more choice in their academic learning and processes. And guess what? It benefited her. But there had to be things in place. There was a visual timer up at all times. There was expectations. There weren't scholars just up walking around. The scholars were focused. But the timer definitely set a sense of urgency. For 3.6, when we talk about procedures and routines, timers are everything. But this guiding question says, does the teacher foster shared responsibility and ownership for the routines? Well, when you do stations, you definitely have to foster that responsibility and ownership. Scholars need to know what success looks, feels, and sounds like. And so is it just completion? Is it completion with a high expectation for that? And so it really helps as a teacher, you can try to be all things to all of your scholars all at once, but that is a very high pressure position to put yourself under. And so classroom jobs are huge. And so in a world where most of our scholars in secondary and in elementary school right now, they're Generation Alpha, secondary scholars, or Generation Z or Gen Z. And so you know what? They want to be involved. It's their community. Why not give them jobs? In our local communities, we have jobs, right? We have different responsibilities. And so we have individuals who bring us packages and bring us mail. We have individuals who help to take away the waste and the trash that we accumulate throughout the week. We have individuals who help to make sure that the community is civil. And we have individuals in our homes. We have leadership roles and things like that. We all contribute to the cleanliness of the environment and of our neighborhoods, right? So with that, our scholars need jobs. They want jobs. And so these are just some examples of teachers who choose every week. They have different leaders. One is the cheer master. This would be a scholar who's responsible to make sure they lead out those classroom-wide celebrations, whether it's a power clap, whether it's some type of chant or jingle that we're celebrating because we received some growth in math this week as a class. We have a person that may scan the room, or two scholars that may scan the room and say, you know what, our classroom needs to be clean. So we need to clean up before we go to lunch, or we need to clean up before the end of the day. And these are the two scholars that monitor, hey, group number 2 has a lot of trash on the floor, or their materials box looks a little messy. This is the person that may greet everyone, or this person is responsible for the name tag. So whatever your jobs are, identify them and who does what for that week, that month, or however you're using that. For secondary classrooms, you can have different jobs as well according to what you need. I always had a technology guru. I didn't call it the smart board guru. I call it my technology experts. Okay. These were two scholars who they were tech savvy. They were going to run the laptop card. They were going to take care of the smart board. If I had to if I had to like cast something on the screen or monitor, these were scholars who were tech savvy. They would also float around the room to help with tech support with their fellow peers. I would have somebody that was a note taker. They would maybe help update the PowerPoints if we needed to. A person to write on the board because my handwriting is not the best. So this scholar would write on the board, a person who would help scholars who were absent the day before to just double check and make sure that they know what they're supposed to do and that they feel, that they have a handle on what's happening. A person that might walk around and check off scholars if I was collecting something or I needed something, maybe they would check. And so, again, every classroom, every community has roles and responsibilities that sets our scholars up for success. Let's see this quick list. This is how to set up learning centered classroom. Now, this is a holistic video, but that really is all encompassing of what is going to help us manage our classrooms well. So these are a lot of multiple steps, but it really helps us with the process.
For new teachers, the idea of building a classroom community at the start of the school year can be daunting, but a few key strategies can set you up for success by putting student voice and choice at the center. You can foster confidence, increase engagement, and provide a nurturing environment for both you and your students that will last the whole year long. The layout of your classroom can communicate more than you realize, from power dynamics to social values. What message does your room send when students first walk in? As the new school year begins, invite your students to help design the look of the classroom. Encourage a collaborative environment and peer discussions with table groups or a circular seating chart, as opposed to desks that only face the teacher. Decorate the classroom with student artwork and signage that includes their home languages. Having a setting that reflects them allows students to feel represented and at ease. A baseline on class protocols gives students stability and a better understanding of what's expected of them in the classroom. Together, you can decide the rules and regulations of your day-to-day conduct, giving each child the opportunity to voice their opinion. Involving students in the creation of the class's social contract will not only help them feel empowered, but also encourage community and accountability amongst their peers. Once the contract is drafted with everyone's input, have students sign and agree to abide by these shared classroom rules. Hang the contract in an area where everyone can see it, to be a gentle reminder of their rights and responsibilities. While collaboration and participation are key elements of classroom culture, giving students time and space alone is an important part of helping them recharge. Create a peace corner, a designated area for self-reflection and meditation on one's thoughts and emotions. If a student feels overwhelmed, dysregulated, or is in need of solitude, they can go to the Peace Corner to calm themselves and regain clarity. Remember, a peaceful place is a positive area for reflection, rather than disciplinary action, such as a timeout. Creating routines for discussions in the classroom gives students the opportunity to voice their opinions in a respectful manner and learn what is acceptable and expected of them during conversations. Exercises like morning meetings give each student a chance to speak and encourage active listening. Let students talk about how they're feeling, or you can start things off with a themed question. Making this a daily practice will build a level of comfort that can get even your least talkative students involved. For older students, Socratic circles are another way to build engagement and encourage participation. Give students a topic to discuss. Encourage respectful disagreement, where students can share their opinions without fear of being interrupted or chastised, but with the knowledge that others may have opposing beliefs. Putting students' voices first by sharing the floor as often as you can will open up space for them to empower themselves and one another.
Wonderful. So this is a huge overview, really, of Domain 3, but it also is intertwined with Domain 2 and Domain 1. How do we create that positive culture and climate in the classroom where, again, it's centered on everyone? It is community driven. It is relationship driven. We are all in the relationship business. And so we want to make sure that our relationships between teacher, student, teacher, student to student, or scholar to scholar, and scholar to teacher, all of these things are really really impactful and powerful in our classrooms. And so a lot of how we set up our classrooms and manage our classrooms will contribute to healthy environments. 3.7 is relevancy of learning objectives. How relevant is this to my life today? That is important. Our network scholars absolutely need to know that. If we want our scholars to retain the information they are learning, if we miss this component, it's a challenge. So, relevancy of learning to the objective. So behaviors will occur. right? The management of our classrooms can break down if we're not fostering excitement for learning, right? Are we hooked in? Are we excited? Are we drawn in? And, or can I talk? Are we going to talk about this? Are we going to do something that really is applicable to this standard and this skill? So, what excites you about this learning? Not just thinking, well, to get my scholar to learn this, I want them to do this. Okay, focus on what's going to get them excited about learning this. Then, man, the growth, the learning, then they're going to have that intrinsic motivation, and that's going to last a lot longer. And so that's huge. How can I get my scholars to buy into this? That's exactly what this component wants us to do. So, does a teacher foster excitement for learning? Meaning, how do you foster that intrinsic motivation? How do you get them hooked into this topic? Do the learning tasks help scholars make real world connections? Clearly, if it's not relevant to what I need today, like right now, then there won't be a sense of urgency. It won't seem important to me. It's just compliance. And compliance, that doesn't last long. Now you're working harder as an educator to get the scholars excited every day. But you can keep your scholars excited for the next 2 weeks that we're going to be engaged in the standard if they have that intrinsic motivation. So it comes from the inside out. And so with that, do scholars exhibit excitement for learning? Are they equally excited, or are they excited because you're excited? You can become contagious. And so let's see what this might look, feel, or sound like. So one thing that we can do is, first off, focus on our hooks. How are we going to hook them to learning? So some teachers do the guess what we're learning next, right? And so they start to build up, not just waiting until the ending of the lesson, or we've taken the test. It's like, let's start out with, what are we going to learn next? Yay, make learning exciting. And so what content do you think we're going to learn now? What skills are we going to have to demonstrate? And then what connections can you make with the following images? So scholars might look at this and say, wow. Oh, I'm so glad this person has they have a broken bone. Wow, that looks painful. Oh my goodness. Or maybe my parent, or I have a cousin who they do x-rays and that's their job, right? But this is a broken bone. Ooh. And then maybe we have some musical rhythmic scholars that may say, well, I know what this picture represents. This represents a whole note, and it represents 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a half note. It represents 2 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you may have a musical scholar that can even break down these, right? These quarter notes. So this represents 1 count. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? Wow. So, and then a scholar may look at these oranges. These are whole oranges. This is a half orange. And these are like orange slices. So what do we notice? We notice about, this is a broken bone. So there's a whole bone. It should be but it's broken, right? We have a whole note. We have quarter notes. And then we have, so we have these different rhythms here. We have a whole orange, we have a half orange, we have single orange slices, we have an iceberg, we have what we see on the surface, and then there's going deeper. What do we think we're going to learn this week? Maybe fractions. So getting them guessing. We all love to guess correctly and feel like we got it right. So imagine when this teacher really reveals what we're learning today, which might be fractions. It might be it could be a variety of things, but this teacher has encompassed a variety of different modalities that our scholars may be able to connect with. Another way is to just use one single picture, a very layered picture. What are we going to learn next? Let the scholars pick which box they want to disappear first, or you can just slowly pre-program that. So you could do one of those hidden pictures that are themed after something we're going to learn. So they might start saying, oh my gosh, and now they're seeing the hidden pictures. Well, I see, human organs right here. Maybe we're going to learn about one of our body systems. Or, I see, so they're really looking hard at what we're going to learn, right? Oh no, I see medical equipment. We're going to learn about a doctor. Maybe something happened. There's a feather. There's an X-ray. Oh my gosh, there's a lot of things that are happening. What's going on here? Oh, there's a key. There's some gloves. Oh my gosh, a person left their wallet. Who leaves their wallet out like that? Who leaves their desk open with keys like that? This clearly is a doctor. Maybe something happened to the doctor. Oh no, it looks like somebody broke into this doctor's office because the office looks really messy. There's a burn hole in the pillow. There's a light bulb on the floor. What happened in this room? Oh no, there's a lot of things. There's a bunch of pills. There's spilled coffee. Oh my goodness. Maybe we're gonna have to tell a story. Oh no, there's a rat that got out. So maybe the rat did the mess. I don't know. But either way, it makes our scholars curious. We want them curious. We want them asking questions. Some of these images in this picture, our scholars may not even know what they are because of, their generation. Maybe they're not exposed to some of the things in this room. What is this thing here? This is I can't even remember the vocabulary word right now. But I know it keeps count, right? It keeps pacing, it keeps time. And so but just looking around the room is an opportunity for vocabulary words, right? And to really see, you got chocolate that's open here. There's so many things in this hidden picture. So that's a way to get our scholars hooked and to be creative. Another one is to allow them to use their hands, their minds, their mouths, and their hands and their feet. Yes. So doing design challenges, sometimes giving them 5 minutes or a 10-minute hook, letting them design something, letting them fix a problem. Design challenges, it really helps them to solve problems. And so look at these scholars. Literally, this bookshelf was made out of cardboard. These scholars literally made an entire table out of cardboard. Same thing. So we love cardboard challenges. We get Amazon boxes and all kind of cardboards coming into our school environment. Why not do a lot of cardboard challenges? It's low cost. We can quickly access these, and it can allow for our scholars to be really creative. Here, they created, again, opportunities for beautification, putting flowers here. They created a table, magazines, and so we just love the creativity that exists. So let's see an example. This website here can provide a lot of design challenges. It's called Teach Engineering, and it really aligns with our state standards. All right, so we're going to stop right here. So quickly, these are some short, quick design challenges. You give scholars small, like amounts of materials and see what they can come up with. What can they create with that? And so here we had a scholar has says, you know what, we have these lockers, but a lot of the space in the lockers are typically not even used. So what can we create that's going to help us maximize our space in our locker and really provide for keeping our lockers organized? And they built that locker stand, right? But the challenge the first time was it didn't really fit because they didn't measure it. So really the scholars had to go back to the design process and to uncover that there actually is a design process. There is a process that you want to follow when designing. And so that was a huge piece of our STEM curriculums. But Teach Engineering is a great website. It has tons of resources and information to really help guide design challenges. And so one thing that we want you to think about Another one is, and I know I'm choosing some science standards here, but it's huge because science can be infused in a lot of our different topics and things that we do. And this is one that love Generation Genius because they have a lot of free do-it-yourself activities. They're low cost. So sometimes we don't do, we may not give science the attention that it needs because it's so expensive. And do we have the budget for the materials? Well, one thing about Generation Genius and them with their DUI projects. And so this might be an after school club or something we do to help our scholars really, really, really stamp the learning. And so we have an objective at the top, but they have small little 2-minute videos as well on these do it yourself. So they're demonstrations, they provide hands-on, minds-on learning, a physical movement, and permits our scholars to verbally explain how the digestive system works. And so I'm just going to talk through one of the videos that they have and how scholars can really make connections. And so I really love this video. So we're going to go ahead and play it, and I'll talk you through it. So this is about the digestive system. So she's demonstrating how we chew our food. So her hands are used as teeth. So imagine her hands are the teeth. We just ate some chips, we ate some bread, we ate all these things, and we're chewing to grind up the food that we ingest. The water represents saliva. And so this is what happens inside of our body as we're digesting our food, where we eat, with our saliva is melting that food down, and then it goes to our stomach. This blender represents our stomach. So once the food has reached our stomach, guess what? There's acid in our stomach. So the orange juice that she poured in there represents our stomach acids. And then everything gets blended up, right? Now, once our stomach kind of, processes all of that, then it goes to our intestines, which is about 25 feet long. And that stocking represents our intestines. So all the food, it's going into our intestines, and our intestines is going to really sort all of the nutritional value. So what she's squeezing out represents the nutrition and the nutrients that we get from our food. Once we've gotten all the nutrients out of the food, guess what? Our body has to get rid of the waste. So that represents the waste. You get the picture. I mean, come on. I would love this, okay? I absolutely would have remembered the digestive system and the digestive process if I were able to get my hands dirty and to really represent, wow, why my teeth are so important. It's important for me to brush my teeth, and my oral health is important because I need my teeth to be able to chew my food up. The better I can chew my food up and I drink water, it provides that, it provides the support I need to make sure there's hydration and there's water and to make that food as it digests, right, to grind it up. And then it goes through that entire process. Like, wow, I would remember that. And so that would make learning fun. It definitely would make it memorable. And then my memory recall and working memory would absolutely do its job. And with our scholars in our network, working memory is a challenge because of trauma-related stress. It means that we can teach a lesson today, and tomorrow sometimes our scholars have no memory recall of what they learned the day prior. So we have to have that hands-on, minds-on, collaborative interactions for scholars. So now, student participation, yes. Does the teacher foster a positive and safe environment with active participation and engage in academic rigor? Man, is it hands-on and is it minds-on? Am I getting that complexity in my brain strain, as well as do I have access to doing everything that's involved in this lesson? Or is it one scholar being called to the board? No. Why does one scholar need to be called to the board? That's only 1 out of a 25 ratio when there can be 25 scholars with lap boards. And the teacher can have every scholar every single time experiencing the learning. And so we want to make sure that we have that participation ratio and high think ratios as well. Do scholars and peers collaborate with enthusiasm and respect? Wow. Can our scholars celebrate each other? Are they thankful when another scholar really can represent their genius out loud? That is a classroom that's managed well and that tells us that we value intellect in this room.
The discourse, where students are talking about their peers' strategies, and that's where the heart of the lesson is.
I want to go on Nairobi's answer. I think I can help him do the last part.
And I really try to get kids to think about the other kids thinking.
2 holes in 2 pieces of the 4.
How did you get that?
I got that because he split them into fourths, and the N got 2 of the 4.
Jocelyn's saying that Nairobi's answer is 2 and 2/4. Now I need to know if you agree with that, and I want you to talk about that with your partner. Is that true? Do you agree with that? Yes or no? And why? Prove your math thinking. Why? Okay.
I agree because Nairobi got 2.
Kids have a lot of math thinking. If they don't realize that they have to prove it, then it's just living in their head.
Like if you like draw a hole under the 2, it would be the same size. Yeah.
I think the value of doing this is that it levels the playing field for all kids. Like, all kids have access to this problem, and they have the opportunity to solve it in whatever way makes the most sense to them. So tomorrow, we're gonna keep working on convincing you, and we're also gonna look at Ilani's solution to see if that's the same, because she got an even different answer. So pat yourself on the back for proving your math thinking. That was hard work.
Wonderful, wonderful. We see a lot of phenomenal things happening in this process of discourse. Discourse really helps our scholars to challenge the thinking of others, to say whether they agree or disagree, to make their thinking visible. And so again, in order for us to really push the academic rigor, the think ratio, the participation ratio, it's really important for that academic discourse to happen, right? How do you know what they're learning if they're not talking? And so that is huge, right? If they're not able to articulate it or get it out, the writing process is a lot more difficult, especially for certain scholars. Personality plays a big role in that, introversion versus extroverts, right? Sometimes certain people need a lot more time to process their thoughts, so they need a little bit more time before they're quickly able to speak. But we have to make sure that we give them avenues and processes to really make sure that they can articulate what they know and to share why they know it. I love that this teacher says that if they're not able to share their knowledge and it's just living in their head, then it's really not going to have the biggest impact. So we want to give that space for discourse. And what is discourse? Guided discourse is inquiry, right? It's a class discussion or a pair discussion where scholars discover errors or they discover how to solve or provide a solution to something, just like some of the design challenges allow for that. And then it provides that scholar-led coaching. So we have scholars who are able to really pour in and to give feedback to their fellow peers. And so that's really an effective reteach. It makes for scholar participation, collaboration, and to be able to hear other voices besides the teacher. So scholars unpack their own errors and build a solution. So if I can help my classmate improve, then I'll start to be able to quickly make adjustments when it comes to my own errors. I will start to have the eyes, the ears, and the knowledge to be able to catch some of my own errors and not to wait for the teacher to walk around and tell me if I'm right or wrong. We want to build that confidence. And so how does this even happen? How did this type of classroom management and scholar participation happen when we are having discourse? How do our scholars build the resolve to be able to, to be patient enough to do that? So look at this procedure and how this teacher unfolds. We notice that the procedure and protocols include sitting in a circle, the teacher posts expectations, listen, the teacher is prepared to make sure that scholars are listening. They're prepared to make their thinking visible. So they're never just listening, right? They're taking their own notes because they have to demonstrate what they know as well. They take turns and they use I agree and disagree statements.
We sit in a circle for the share and the discourse so that students can all be accountable to the knowledge that's being shared. The goal of the discourse is for kids to explain their math thinking, to hear other people's math thinking and evaluate others' mathematical thinking. You're asking questions and answering your friends' questions. You're sharing your ideas and you're using the work to prove your thinking. I notice that students get to that point of evaluating others' math thinking once they're able to truly explain their own.
Beautiful. So definitely, if I can explain my own thinking, I can definitely help to support someone else. And so that is huge in providing these opportunities for our scholars. Another way to participate is during morning meeting, we definitely require our scholars to identify where they are on the mood meter. This sets them up for success socially and emotionally throughout the day. But this is an opportunity for scholars to support their peers, right? To help remind that, okay, remember, you move from the red zone to the green zone, right? Let's not allow something to move you back to this zone or to the blue zone, right? Remember your strategy so they also can pour into each other throughout the day when it comes to their emotional regulation and management as well. So a part of classroom management is not just managing things that we think are going to just enhance that academic. We know that when the social emotional components or those social components are well managed, then we know that it will set the classroom up to have higher achieving academic experiences. Another one is during our morning meeting time, there's sharing, there's group activities for our younger scholars and our older scholars. It sets them up to be able to talk about casual topics or day-to-day topics that might be in the news today or that's on their minds and hearts. And it really helps to foster what that academic talk is going to be like. So it really warms them up for the academic discourse process. Morning meetings also help them to, again, anticipate what to expect today and to get excited about the learning. So you don't have a huge heavy lift when you're talking about, yay, we're going to be learning about fractions. No, we're going to be talking about pizza and how we can divide that up into equal parts or chocolate, really hooking them into the learning of that day to get that intrinsic motivation. Like, oh, that's something I want to learn about because I had that problem when my cousins came over and we ate pizza and I felt like they got more pizza than I did. So different ways to really help our scholars connect and to participate, right? To have that buy-in. One last thing that we want to show you with scholar participation is morning meetings are huge because, again, how do these social emotional activities support the academic process? Morning meeting works. Morning meeting works. Morning meeting works. Okay. So, but what might this look like? And let's see. Sometimes we can do activities during our morning meeting, and that activity can be a metaphor for other things. So I'm going to play a video from our older scholars so we can see what this might look like.
Okay, guys, we're going to play a game. Each team, 3 people will be mute, 2 people will be blind, and 1 person physically disabled. Today's Conglom was an active game to understand how my peers work, to understand how I react to certain situations which are difficult and stressful for me. Your challenge is to use these cardboard pieces to get your whole team to reach the other side of the lava pit.
It was a team building activity. It was about involving everyone, no matter how different or alike we are.
3, 2, 1, go!
How our team worked was we were taking care of the people blindfolded because the mute people could see and hear us. So we guided them and we took support of them in terms of hopping.
We're in the journey together. So Congloms helps grow an individual who's going to go out into society and be able to solve problems and be able to understand themselves and connect with other people emotionally.
We all have different strengths and weaknesses. Working as a class, we can cross the whole.
Every morning, the students look forward to the
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So love this activity specifically because it really adds an emphasis on, that diversity wheel. There are different abilities, right? And then what happens when I have classmates I love this particular simulation and this activity because he said that there are a few class members who they're blind, a few that will need physical support. And so there was just a variety of things happening or special needs here. And their goal was to still get across the room, right? And so there's so many points of discussion. Did the scholars, I still have a voice even though I'm blind. Is my voice being considered, right? Was I treated like I didn't have a voice just because my vision is impaired? And so different things like that really can come up in those conversations. Those scholars can really speak to how they were treated and what opportunities were provided or afforded to them or taken away, right? And so these things really create tons of conversations, and you'll be surprised. Our scholars will open up about how they believe that, hey, maybe because of my gender, sometimes I feel like when I'm in my engineering class or I'm in a math class that, I want to be treated as an intellectual equal as well. So some great conversations really come up when these activities, we don't just do these activities because they're fun. We do them, yes, it's a plus that they're fun because scholars love to participate in them, but we want to do them with intention. There are some great intentional conversations that can come up that will foster a healthy classroom environment, managing it, and so that when those personality clashes or those ability clashes or different things come up, we've warmed up and we created an environment where everyone is holding each other responsible for supporting the health and wellness in that classroom and managing that classroom. So if my classmate is offended by something or really hurt or upset about something, I can advocate for a conversation to occur. And so these are very powerful tools. And so with that, we want you to check the academic playbook. There are so many things. Our academic team works super hard to ensure that we have so many resources at the click of our fingertips. And so the QR code will get you quick access to the academic playbook, and it is updated every single year in the summer. So there are tons of new things in there. Check it out, and be sure to continue to keep this as a huge resource for you. And then any additional questions that you have, you can feel free to reach out to the training team. This was Domain 3 Classroom Management and Environment, and we are super excited to support you throughout the year. And so any questions that you have, feel free to reach out. Thank you, and you have a wonderful experience.